All right, I've had a couple questions about how to do this logo specifically, or how you could make your own animated signature with this hand-drawn effect, or your own animated initials, a YouTube logo. So in this video, I'll simply explain how you do this on your own. Yeah, let's just jump into it. At the simplest level, there's really only two steps. There's drawing the signature itself, in this case, my initials, JM, and then revealing that signature in a hand-drawn effect. To expand on that, you can also add two more steps to the beginning and end. I add a bit of a flare in terms of a drop that comes in and then hits where the logo is about to start and animates the logo on. And then at the end, I add a disappearing animation. In this case, it's kind of an explosion type animation in order to make it disappear. So you can do it in 2 steps, you can do it in 4 steps. The main 2 things are draw the logo or the signature, then reveal the logo, and I'll show you how we do that. And then we can add the last 2 steps. Number 3 being, we'll make the beginning look cool. Number 4 being, we'll make it disappear in a cool way. So we're in Procreate. I'm gonna open up a new Procreate file, and I'm going to do a 16:9 aspect ratio, and the pixels are 1920 by 1080p. You really don't need to go bigger than this. I'm gonna do the background color as black, and I'm going to draw on my signature with white. So the brush I'm gonna use is down in inking, and we're gonna use the Studio pen. You can use really any brush, but I think this one gives a cool calligraphy effect to it. And I'm just gonna start by drawing my initials, J, and you really kind of gotta do it a couple times until you're happy with it. No, let's try that. Oh, actually, like that. Yeah, something like that. So once you're happy with your signature, you know, that's the part that I can't really teach you as much. You've got to just, you know, try it a bunch of times, try a couple different brushes, see if you like what you're doing. Then once you have the signature, that's step 1. Step 2 is, again, the reveal. We're gonna reveal the logo. And what's weird about this is we're gonna actually do it backwards. We're gonna start by turning on Animation Assist. And as you can see, we've got this frame, our signature on the first frame. And in order to make it look like it's drawing on in a hand-drawn effect, we're gonna actually erase the logo backwards. So all I'm gonna do here, tap here, duplicate the logo, go to this logo that's in front, and you can always rearrange them if you get them out of order, but go to the first logo, and I'm gonna erase a little bit. Duplicate, go to the first frame, erase a little bit more, try to keep it looking smooth so it doesn't look like a hard line, and I kind of give the edge a little bit of a round shape to it, just like it would actually look if I was writing on. It wouldn't be a straight line. Duplicate, go to the first frame, erase a little bit more. Now make it a little round. Now the method that you need to think about is the distance between your erasing lines. Now if you've got your onion skins back on, I only need 2 or 3 onion skins. That'll show you the previous layers a little bit faded out, so you can kind of compare the distance between each frame. We're gonna make sure this is 12 frames per second, and yeah, everything else looks good. So the method that you need to think about in terms of the distance between each erasing lines is the speed. The further apart these erasing lines are, the faster the animation is gonna go. The closer these erasing lines are, the slower the animation is gonna go. If I watch this back, you can see that, you can't really see it yet, but it slowly eases to the end. And we can always even add in another frame. Let's say we want to go to the very end, duplicate this, go to the previous frame, and just erase even a little less than what we did before. All of that helps ease the animation to the end. But just think about the distance between each of these erasing lines. So as I duplicate this line is this distance, if you can see that. I might double the distance now because I want things to pick up a little bit here. Now it's kind of weird to think about because you're doing everything backwards, but just try it a couple times. The first time through, just erase it all frame by frame, little bit by bit, and see how it looks. And then as you start to see how the distance between the erasing lines changes the speed, do a different logo and see how it looks the second time you do it. So I actually did that out of order. I need to now drag this frame to the front. And now that's in order. So let's play that. You can start to see how it's moving fast, but then it slows down at the end. And I'm just gonna go through all of this, erasing every little bit of this logo, and I'll just speed through it so you don't have to sit through all this. Now, the one thing I think about as we get to the very beginning of this, if you're wanting to have a slow start or the speed of the drawing to ease in to the motion, then again, you're going to start to get these erasing lines closer and closer together. And my rule of thumb is I usually half the distance each time until it gets really small, and then it doesn't matter. So I'm duplicating this, and then I'm going to half the distance here, and then the last one, even half of what that was, which is basically nothing. So I'm just gonna erase the last of it, and voila, we've got it animating on. So like I said, that's all you really need to do. There's only 2 steps to get an animated hand-drawn logo done in Procreate. Super easy. If you're wanting to add a little bit more flair, you can do those 3rd and 4th steps. So the 3rd step being, let's figure out how to do a little bit of a drop that comes in and animates on. And then the last one, how do we make the logo disappear? So let's start with the first one. What I'm gonna do is I wanna do that drop look, and I'm gonna have the drop appear from the middle of the frame and loop around and hit the top of the J and then start drawing on. What I'm gonna do first though is go to the bottom, make a new layer, make sure it's actually at the bottom. I'm gonna label this my guide, and then tap on the layer in the animation timeline, and we're gonna turn this into background. So this is gonna be a guide that we end up deleting later. I'm gonna go to red. This is my guide. I'm gonna just have it start somewhere in the middle, make it way smaller than that. And wow, that was perfect. All right, and hit right there. So that's a smooth line that I can now follow along as I make new layers for this drop animation. So let's go back to white. I'm on my studio pen. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna make a new frame. Again, we're kind of working backwards a little bit. So it's weird to keep the layers straight. This time I'm gonna start at the beginning and work my way to the beginning of the J. If it doesn't make sense, just follow along. Something like that. I'm going to have this drop pick up speed a little bit as it goes along. That big. You can start to space it out a little bit. And then also, the faster it goes, the more trailing droplets it's going to have. So I'm going to pretend like some of these little droplets here are falling behind. So maybe I've got some droplets here, here. I'm going to lower my onion skin so you might be able to see that a little bit better. These droplets are getting smaller in the next frame because they're starting to disappear, but as it goes around, new droplets keep getting created, and there's some more trailing droplets. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I might need to adjust some frames. We can now get rid of this guide layer. So come up to here, turn off the guide. And now when we watch it, we've now done step 1, 2, and 3. And now let's see how we can make this logo disappear. I want the logo to stay on for a certain amount of frames before it disappears. And let's just go with 10 frames. That'll keep it on for enough time that someone can actually read it, but not too long. We're going to duplicate this frame. Move that to the end. So I have the logo holding for a little bit, and then this is the frame that we're going to start to explode and make disappear. What I used for my explosion was the Liquify effect. And basically all I did was use the crystals and the push Liquify effects to get the kind of explosion effect that I wanted. It's not perfect, but it's super easy. You can mess around with the size and pressure of this and the amount of distortion that it has. I'll speed through this process so you don't have to sit through it, but mess around with this, see how it looks. I'm going to start with the crystals a little bit. Hit here, back out, make a new frame, go back to Liquify, and make it expand a little bit more than that. This time, I'm gonna grab the push and maybe start to pull some of these little pieces out so that they're not all so uniform. And this you can kind of just eyeball. And with an explosion, the most of the impact happens at the very beginning. So you can kind of do a lot more of this this distortion at the beginning of this animation, but then slow it down at the end as it gets smaller. Anyways, I'm gonna speed through this so you don't have to watch it all. All right, my video stopped recording, so I didn't get to show you every little frame of this explosion, but basically the process was just going back up to Liquify, using the crystals and a little bit of the push to make this explosion effect. And then at the end of each frame, or at the end of the explosion, a couple of these frames, once it gets really big and you've crystallized it to the point that it looks like the end of this explosion, just start erasing a little bit here and there as you go. Keep going up to Liquify and expanding it frame by frame, but erase a little bit here and there. And just kind of think about how explosions work. You know, the very beginning, there's this big impact. So you can make the animation a little bit further out because that's going to increase the speed of the impact. But then at the end of an explosion, you know, the smoke slowly dissipates and most of the speed is at the very beginning. So at the end, you know, slow down on the crystallize effect, make it, you know, inch out just a little bit by bit and erase it slowly frame by frame. And that's the whole animation. You could always add other little flares. You know, on mine I added some little droplets that, you know, squirt out at the very end of the J and at the bottom of the M. You could do your explosion differently. You could test out some of the other effects. All right, that's all I have for you today. If you're liking these videos and you're finding these animation tutorials helpful, let me know down in the comments, and also by subscribing, and I'll make sure to make more videos like this in the future. And until then, I'll catch you later.